In the previous episode, Kaiju number 9, who targeted Isao to seize the power of Kaiju number 2 that he had. Although Isao has used all his strength to finish off Kaiju number 9, unfortunately Isao is still unable to defeat him. It was Kaiju number 9 who managed to eat Isao's body and seize the power of Kaiju number 2. The story continues with Kafka and Narumi, who just arrived at the battle site, until shortly after Narumi tried to contact Isao with his communication device, but there was no response. Finally, they found Isao's whereabouts standing over the Kaiju corpse. For a moment, Narumi was reminded of his conversation with Isao, who once said that he intended to withdraw completely after finishing forming the strongest unit. So, if that day has come, then Isao wants to entrust the defense forces and also this country to Narumi. Until here, Kafka and Narumi still don't realize that the Isao figure they saw was Kaiju number 9, because his form still looks like Isao. Until when Kafka tried to speak to the Isao in front of them, but there was no response. Kafka immediately realized that the Isao in front of them was not Isao, and he immediately told Narumi. Kaiju number 9 then launched his attack on Narumi with his laser shot, but even though at that time Narumi and Kafka also immediately jumped to avoid the attack, it turned out that the range of his attack could still hit them, which made Kafka surprised and said in his mind, "What an extraordinary power! He is already much different from before. Is he really Kaiju number 9? Scene Kaiju number 9, who has evolved into his new form after he managed to get the power of Kaiju number 2. While Narumi was still trying to contact Isao to ask where he was, suddenly Narumi was surprised by Kaiju number 9, who answered his call through Isao's communication device, which was still attached to his ear, by saying, "Oh, Isao, you mean that host? I killed him, then united with him body." Hearing this, Kafka and Narumi became very angry with Kaiju number 9 because they would not just believe what he said. Even Kikoru, who had just arrived there, immediately launched his successive shots at Kaiju number 9 because she herself did not believe in that fact. Until when Kaiju number 9 showed part of Isao's face in front of Kikoru while saying, "That's how it looks, so you're this person's son, huh?" Kikoru was very surprised by what he saw at that time, but Kafka also immediately shouted at him, "Don't look at him." Kaiju number 9 intends to launch his attack on Kikoru, but at that time Narumi has moved before Kaiju number 9 can launch his attack. Quickly, Narumi immediately swung his sword at Kaiju number 9 while saying, "What are you doing to my men?" Even Kaiju number 9 still had time to ask, "Is it an inevitable attack like what you did to Beta?" Narumi once again launched his follow-up attack on Kaiju number 9 with a bayonet technique called Explosive Slash. Narumi, who at that time remembered Isao's words that would entrust this country to him, then returned to prepare to launch the next attack on Kaiju number 9 while muttering, "At least I will only replace you to finish off Kaiju number 9. But unexpectedly by Narumi, just before he could approach Kaiju number 9 to launch her attack, suddenly Narumi was surprised by Kaiju number 9, who could fly after growing wings on him back while saying, "I'm sorry, but today is enough until here. It seems my body is experiencing a rejection reaction after unification. Therefore now I want to go home." Narumi, who heard it, became even more annoyed because Kaiju number 9 just wanted to leave, even though at that time Narumi made a move to stop Kaiju number 9 by launching him attack from above. Unfortunately, Narumi's attack had no impact on Kaiju number 9 because he had a much stronger defense force. It didn't even matter, even though Kafka helped Narumi by launching his punch at Kaiju number 9. It turned out that Kafka's punch could still be held by Kaiju number 9. Then he arrogantly said, "Before I was helpless against your attack, but now I can read it." While Kikoru seemed to be crying because she could not do anything even though the enemy who killed his father was in front of her. Here we can also see Kafka and Narumi, who continue to launch their attacks on Kaiju number 9, but unfortunately they are the two of them who are pressed. Kaiju number 9 once again sent his fist to clash with Kafka, causing Kafka to be thrown far back. But just as Kaiju number 9 was about to leave there, suddenly Kaiju number 9 was surprised by his right hand, which suddenly melted due to the rejection effect of the unification of his body. Seeing this, Narumi again invited Kafka to continue to launch attacks on Kaiju number 9, until Narumi jabbed his weapon and Kaiju number 9 also immediately used his wings to withstand the stab. In the end, Narumi managed to destroy part of Kaiju number 9's body because he couldn't harden his body due to the rejection reaction. Even when Kafka also threw his punches at Kaiju number 9's body, it turned out that Kafka's punches could also melt his body, making Kaiju number 9 realize that it was Kafka who had caused this rejection reaction. Then Kafka said, "I will definitely not let you run away, because your actions cannot be forgiven." Kafka also once again threw his hard punch at Kaiju number 9, so that Kaiju number 9 did not have time to recover himself, and the rejection reaction on his body also occurred even faster. From this incident made Kaiju number 9 very annoyed with Kafka, because again Kafka was the stumbling block that always blocked his steps. Although at that time Kaiju number 9 did have difficulty recovering his body again, but right when Narumi and Kafka were just about to launch their attack, it turned out that Kaiju number 9 still had a backup plan to escape from there, deliberately exploding part of his body to attack Kafka and Narumi. Kikoru, who saw it suddenly, became very worried about the state of Narumi and Kafka, but unexpectedly by Kaiju number 9 when he was just about to leave there while saying, "You have reached the limit. I almost lost the body that I worked so hard to get." Again, Kaiju number 9 was surprised again by Kafka and Narumi, who turned out to be alive, and even they were still able to fight. For a moment, Kaiju number 9 was indeed panicked because he could not possibly face them with his current body condition. But when Kaiju number 9 realized that there were still Kikoru and Akira who were helpless, in the end Kaiju number 9 could find a way to escape from there by launching a diversionary attack on Kikoru and Akira, leaving Narumi and Kafka no choice but to move to protect his two colleagues. Kaiju number 9 then said, "I should have done this from the beginning. Humans are strange creatures. You can't ignore others in front of your eyes. Well, Kaiju number 8, my next action will be the beginning of the Kaiju era in this world." At the end of the battle, we can also see Kafka, who managed to protect Kikoru, and Narumi also still had time to protect Akira, while after Kaiju number 9 declared war on humanity. Kaiju number 9 managed to escape from there, even though only with part of his body. Here we can see Kafka, who was buried in the rubble while protecting Kikoru, and Narumi also seemed to reflect on his defeat. This was a crushing defeat for the defense forces because they had lost Isao and the power of Kaiju number 2, while Kafka, who did not accept that Kaiju number 9 had declared war on mankind by wearing Isao's face. Suddenly, he could only curse Kaiju number then shed his tears.